Welcome to Tech in the Car. This is the Kia e-NIRO. In this video, I'm going to show you around it, tell you about the cool and interesting things it has going on, and then take it for a test drive, and then I'm going to give it a Tech in the Car rating so you know what I think of this car. This is the Kia e-NIRO, Kia's electric car, which has been out for a couple of years, and this is a 2022 model year, and there's been some changes to it, to the specs, which I'm going to go over with the trims. I really like this car spoiler. It's got lots of great technology in it. It's not the most expensive car. It's also not the most affordable car. It's somewhere in the middle, and I think it really fits well into that. The one thing it does have is amazing battery life. This model actually has a 64 kilowatt hour battery, which is good for 282 miles WLTP range. That is one of the highest ranges you can get on a car and one of the biggest batteries for an electric car. The Kia e-NIRO is available in different sizes and different specs. This is the top of the range 4+ 64 kilowatt 1-speed automatic, which costs £39,395 on the road. There are two models that are able to take advantage of the £2,500 plug-in government electric car grant, which are available in the 2 trim level, which have got the 39 kilowatt hour and the 64 kilowatt hour batteries. This one is not included because it's too expensive compared to the amount the grant requires you to be under. Let's talk about this front design. So first of all, on the top trim level, you have LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. That's really cool for great vision. The front here has your traditional Kia grille. However, obviously it doesn't have any vents because it's an electric car, so it doesn't need it. So it's covered over, but it still looks like Kia. And then down here, we have the adaptive cruise control sensor. This car has a ton of assistance features, which make driving it really, really easy. I like the front of this car. I like the contrast green. One of the things I really like about this car is this. I love electric cars that have front charging ports. This car is no different. It's got a front port with its AC and DC charging connectors, and this car is able to charge from 0 to 80% in 59 minutes, so just under 1 hour. Now that might seem like more than other electric cars, and it is, but that's because this car has got twice the size battery. From the side, the Kia e-NIRO looks very purposeful, very much like a traditional crossover SUV style car. You've got 17-inch alloy wheels as an option. You've got keyless entry as well, folding mirrors as well, which come with a top trim model. And then you've got this really nice finish down here. Interestingly enough, I haven't seen many cars that have a black bottom trim and then a top silver trim. That's very, very unusual. We've got roof rails. We've got a nice little curve here in the door with some protectors down the side here for when you open the car. So it's really, really keeping in mind its practical use as well as having a stylish look. I actually think that the rear of the Kia e-NIRO might be the best view out of all of them. We've got this sporty spoiler on the top here. We've got these little fins sticking out the bottom. We've got this trim here. And of course, let's not forget the space in the back here. We've got 451 litres of space, more if you put the back seats down. I had my bike in here and there was tons of space. We've got this parcel shelf kind of cover, which goes up here and protects your view of what's in the back of the car. That also is removable. There are tie down points and clips so you can attach stuff to. So you're not compromising here. In actual fact, the e-NIRO has more space than the internal combustion version of the car because the batteries are lower down, and so there's no drivetrain going through the back here. At the front of the car, I love that there's these little bulges or cutouts here, which make it look very sporty, makes you imagine there's a massive engine under here, which obviously there isn't. And then of course the other thing I really, really like about this car is at the front here where it charges, there's actually a little light so you can see where you're plugging in at night. And then behind the windscreen, this lights up here to let you know how much charge there is in the car. And if it's charging, there's 3 green lights and they flash and go solid as the car charges. And when it's fully charged, all 3 of them are very solid. That's really cool and helpful. So what is under the bonnet of the Kia e-NIRO? Well, opening it up and looking, you can see that there is all the electric stuff that you need. And you have what looks like an engine cover, but actually it's a cover for the electric motor. But they've designed it so it kind of looks like an engine cover, which is really interesting to see. Pretty cool. Let's see how much space there is in the back of the Kia e-NIRO. And immediately, it should be obvious to see there is a lot of space here. I've got tons of headroom, I've got tons of knee room. These seats are nice and comfortable. They're soft. There's little pockets at the back here. We've got climate control. There's no USB back here, but even the doors still have the contrast stitching on them on the inside. And they are also heated, the rear seats. Welcome to the inside of the Kia e-NIRO. This is a top trim model of this car, and as such you can see by looking inside that it's got pretty much everything you could want. To start with, above me right here is a sunroof, which you can obviously get lots of nice light into the cabin, which makes it much more airy and more spacious inside, or at least it feels that way. This is actually a very spacious cabin. There's no problem with space in this car. And then we have this massive 10.25-inch display which can do Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and it's a really easy to use system which is easy to understand and very responsive. As you swipe through it, you can connect your phone to the car so you can check on the status of your car, whether it's locked or unlocked, using the UVO app. Kia Live shows you things around you like petrol stations and EV charging points. You can connect your USB to it. It's just a very easy to understand system. One thing which is a really interesting quirk definitely of this car, however, is the driver assistance features are only accessible through the driver's cockpit. I didn't expect that. It took me a while actually to find them. So if you want to look at driver assistance features, they're all in here. Also, this car has ambient lighting, and you can choose between several different colors, including white, gray, blue, eco green, bronze, and red. And that will light up underneath here and around the center console. Talking about the center console of this car, we have a rotary dial gear changer, very similar to actually the one in the MG ZS that I recently did a video about. Works the same way. You turn it one way to go into reverse, one way to go into neutral, one way to go into drive. We have an auto hold and park buttons there. And then the seats here have both heating and ventilation in them, so you can cool your seats at the front and also heat them. Again, a really nice feature that you don't get on a lot of cars. And then you've also got a heated steering wheel in here. In the middle here of this center console, there's actually a nice gap with a little tray that you can put stuff in, which is very cool. So there's an extra storage space, and that also makes it feel a lot more spacious. And in this middle here, we have a USB charging port, Type A USB for the data, so you can connect Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and a 12-volt socket. And above that is a wireless charging port as well, which has a little light which lights up to let you know when it's being charged. Inside the car, there's also a lighting system which lets you know the status of the charging. There are 3 green lights, and they change from solid to flashing depending on if they're charging or fully charged, which is nice to know what's going on. There's other cool things in here as well. These seats are also electric, and actually on the driver's side here, they have memory functions as well, which is, again, a sign of a high quality luxury car. A couple of other cool things at the back here. We've got this center console, which I can pull this back, and we've got secret cup holders. Yes, that is right. There are secret cup holders here. You press a button and they pop out of thin air. And in this little compartment here, there's also a USB as well. So you've actually got 3 USBs in this car, so you can charge stuff, plus your 12-volt charger and your key wireless charging. So you really shouldn't run out of anything needing charging spaces in this car. And just the whole interior of this car is really, really nice. We have a digital driver's cockpit. It's split into 3 sections. So each of the dials has a digital screen, and the middle has one too. And as I said, you control all the driver assistance settings from the middle of the cockpit, which is a bit unusual, but hey, that's how it works on here. The steering wheel is nice and not too thick, not too thin, it's just right. And you've got some interesting controls on here. You can obviously turn up your volume, skip tracks. They were a tiny bit confusing for me when I first got in the car. Watch my infotainment review video so you can learn more about what all of the buttons do inside this car. But inside the car, really comfortable. I like it a lot. Let's go for a test drive now and see how it drives. Welcome to the top range model of the Kia e-NIRO. This has got the 64 kilowatt hour battery, and this is fully spec'd out. We've got a 10.25-inch display in the middle for the infotainment. We've got a reversing camera. This has got all of the gadgets and stuff you could want, which you've probably seen if you watch the rest of this video. We've also got adaptive cruise control, lane assist. The infotainment system has got a lot of stuff going on as well, so check out my video on that. This car rides really comfortably. It feels firm but supple. And what I mean by that is some cars, especially when they're raised up in height like an SUV, they bounce around a bit when you go over the bumps in the road, and that kind of moves you around a bit. And you accept it, but it isn't necessarily the most comfortable thing. It isn't something which will stop you from enjoying the car, but you definitely notice it, especially if it's a big bump in the road. With this car, it's firm enough that when it goes over those bumps, it isn't moving around. So you feel very confident about where it is on the road and its position, which is really, really good. And then with all the driver assistance features, if you do a long drive, you can have that support to know that it will help you keep you in the lane, and it will keep you a safe distance from the car in front. And then in a city like I am now, you don't have to worry about somebody braking suddenly, because the car will brake for you if that happens with the emergency braking. We've got a really good viewing position. The car is this is just a really lovely car to be in, and I haven't driven any other Kias before like this that are electric, and I'm really impressed. For my first Kia electric car, this car's really, really impressed me. Obviously, you'll see in my Tech in the Car score what I think about this car, but spoiler alert, it's a good car, and spoiler alert on my range video, this car pretty much does what it says on the tin, and it lives up to expectations, which means that if you buy one of these cars, you're gonna feel like you have a really good car that you are gonna enjoy, and not for 1 second wonder if you made the right choice. Now, in the actual driving, there are different drive modes. There's Eco, and Eco feels like you would expect Eco to feel. Everything is a bit slower. It's designed to save you energy and obviously maintain your range. If you go into normal mode, then what will happen is you'll get a more responsive throttle. So when you push the pedal, you'll definitely feel it's more responsive, but you still kind of feel like the car is lounging around. It's basically eco mode, just with a bit more throttle response. I would probably describe it as it's a bit accelerates faster when you press the throttle. But if you go into sport, immediately the car feels like it's about to pounce. It really does. You put your foot on the accelerator and the whole car kind of feels like it's moving straight away. So there is a noticeable difference between sport and the other two modes. I would say the difference between normal and eco isn't that much. I did my range video on eco mode and I had no problems. I could accelerate fine, I could drive fine, no problem, and it was really comfortable, and I got a really good range on it. In sport, you're gonna get that acceleration and you're gonna get that extra performance that you might want. It will obviously eat into the range, but still it will get that extra performance, and it does go red on the digital dashboard when you put it into sport mode as well. But you do also see a difference in range. So right now, if I put it into sport, it tells me 86 miles of range. So if I put it into eco, it says 88 miles of range. If I put it into normal, it says 87. If I put it into sport, it says 86. I imagine that the differences might be more if I was driving outside the city. Obviously, any sport mode will reduce the economy of the car. Now, obviously, Kia do make versions of this car that have smaller batteries and slightly less trim, which also end up costing less overall. But you'll get, I'm imagining, comparable performance in terms of range depending on the battery size. And as I found out with this car, the range is pretty much what it says. So whatever Kia quotes on the lower capacity battery models, I would take pretty much to be what you're gonna get. And that is a really, really good thing. You get what it says when you order a car, and you're not being surprised by the range being different than you would expect. So that's a good thing. So let's go and check out my Tech in the Car score and see what I think. So one of the cool things about this car is it's got an app which lets you do stuff like turn the charging on and off and control the air conditioning. And it's got an app called the UVO app, which looks like this. So I'm going to swap over to a screenshot now so you can see it clearer. The car is open. Let's lock it. So I'm locking it. And the car is now locked. It's pretty cool, right? Let's say I want to unlock it. I press the unlock button. And now the car is unlocked. And I can see the status here. I can see that the battery is currently at 45%. I can tell the locking status is unlocked. So let's say I want to turn on, using the remote, the air conditioning. And you can hear now the air conditioning is turned on, and you can hear the whir from the motor. And now in the app, it shows that the air conditioning is on in the status and on the home screen. So this app lets you see other stuff like where the car's parked. I really like the Kia eNIRO. It's very comfortable, it's really highly spec'd, it's got all the latest technology, and it's got a massive battery which goes a long way. There's lots of love about this car. At $39,395 for this model, it's pretty decent value. That's not cheap by any means. It's also not super expensive, but for what you get, it's a really good package. So what's my tech in the car score? Well, for comfort, this gets 4 out of 5. It's really comfortable. Don't feel the bumps in the road. Nice and easy to drive. No issues at all. With connectivity, 5 out of 5. It's got an app. You can turn the charging on and off. You can unlock it from the app. You can do all these cool things. Plus it's connected to live traffic. Plus it has Android Auto. Plus it has Apple CarPlay. Plus it has wireless charging. So it's got everything you could want. The only thing it's missing is wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So maybe I should knock it down a tiny bit, but I think as a package, 5 out of 5. For driver assistance, 5 out of 5. It's got everything you could want. Adaptive cruise control, lane assist, emergency braking. It has it all, and it will keep you really safe when driving. For parking, 4 out of 5. It's got a reversing camera, it's got parking sensors, it shows you where you're going. The only thing it's missing is a 360 camera perhaps. For value, I give this car 4 out of 5. It's got a huge battery, it's got all the technology and features. At just under £40,000, this doesn't get the plug-in electric car grant, so I mark it down a bit there. If you went for one of the lower spec trim models, then probably the value would go up. So this is a really good value car. Overall, I give this car 27 out of 30. It's reasonably good value. It's got great performance in terms of battery life and range. It's got all the technology. It's got all the parking technology. It helps you drive, so it keeps you nice and safe, and it's an electric car. This is a really good car. Check a Kia eNiro out if you're after a crossover SUV electric car, or indeed any electric car. Please give this video a like if you found it helpful. It really helps, and subscribe for more on Tech in the Car.